Hello everyone, welcome to the first session on negotiable instruments. The objective of today's session is to make you understand the meaning of negotiable instrument, features of negotiable instruments, and three important kinds of negotiable instruments. To begin with, let us understand what negotiable instrument is. Negotiable means transferable, means ವರ್ಗಾಯಿಸಬಹುದಾದ. Instrument means document, ಒಂದು ದಾಖಲೆ. So negotiable means ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ವರ್ಗಾಯಿಸಬಹುದಾದ ವಸ್ತು. Instrument is a document. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ negotiable instrument is a document which can be transferred. ಒಂದು ವರ್ಗಾಯಿಸಬಹುದಾದ ದಾಖಲೆಯನ್ನು negotiable instrument ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So negotiable instrument is a freely transferable document. Holder of the instrument is entitled to the receipt of the money. ಈ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾರ ಹತ್ರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾರು ಈ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನು ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ಅರ್ಹರಾಗಿರುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾರು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನ ಹತ್ರ ಹಕ್ಕಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ಹಕ್ಕಿರುತ್ತೆ? ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಅವನು ಬೇರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ಟು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ from one person to another person, either by delivery or by endorsement. Negotiable instrument is transferable signed document. So negotiable instrument is a document which can be transferred from one person to another person. The document must be signed by the maker. ಈ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆ ಡ್ರಾಯರ್ ಯಾರಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನು ಈ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಅನದರ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೈನ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರಬಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಅನದರ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್. ಸೊ negotiable instrument contains a promise or an order to pay to a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. So negotiable instrument makes a promise, makes an order to pay to a certain person or to the holder of the instrument. Bearer is nothing but instrument ಯಾರು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತಾನೆ, he is the bearer. So the instrument is promising to pay to the holder or to the bearer of the instrument or to a certain person whose name is mentioned on the instrument. What has to be paid? Certain sum of money has to be paid to the holder of the person or to the bearer of the instrument or to a specific person, and the amount is paid at a future date or when it is demanded. So a negotiable instrument is a transferable document which is signed by the maker, wherein the maker is promising to pay to a specific person whose name is mentioned on the instrument or to the holder of the instrument. And it's a promise to pay specific amount of money, a certain amount of money only, to the holder or to a specific person at a future date or when it is presented for payment or when it is demanded. So three important elements that we find in negotiable instrument concept here is it is transferable document which has to be signed by the maker, and it contains a promise or an order to pay the amount to a specific person or to the bearer of the instrument, and thirdly it is a promise or an order to pay certain amount of money at a future date or on demand. So examples of negotiable instruments include checks, bill of exchange and promissory note. These three instruments are widely used in business parlance. Section 13 subsection A of Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 defines the concept of negotiable instrument. According to this section, negotiable instrument includes promissory note, bill of exchange or check. So negotiable instrument ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸರಿ ನೋಟ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಬಿಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಚೆಕ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು. ಇನ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ತ್ರೀ instruments, it is the order to pay the amount, and the order should not be conditional order, and the amount is paid to the bearer of the instrument or to a specific person whose name is mentioned on the instrument. On that instrument, the maker may write the word order or may write the word bearer. Whether these words are written on the instrument or they are not written on the instrument, the amount is payable to the holder of the instrument or to a specific person whose name is mentioned on the instrument. So section 13 subsection A definition of negotiable instrument is simple, which says negotiable instrument can be a promissory note, it can be a bill of exchange, or it can be a check which is payable to a specific person or to the holder of the instrument, whether on that instrument the maker has written the words order or bearer or not. Whether these words have been mentioned or not, the amount is payable. That's what section 13A of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 defines negotiable instrument as. On to features of negotiable instruments. Negotiable instrument must be in writing. So negotiable instrument should not be cannot be oral. It should be always in writing. Until and unless it is written, it is not a valid instrument. Oral directions, oral orders, oral promise cannot be a valid instrument. So negotiable instruments must always be in writing. It can be typed or it can be handwritten. It must be signed by the drawer. One who makes this negotiable instrument is the drawer of the instrument, maker of the instrument, and he has to sign that instrument. If the drawer or the maker of the instrument has not signed on the negotiable instrument, such negotiable instruments are not valid. They cannot be honored when they are presented for payment. So the drawer has to sign on the instrument to make it a valid instrument. So it should be in writing and the drawer has to sign on the instrument. It must be an unconditional order to pay or promise to pay. So as I told earlier that negotiable instrument contains an order or it contains a promise. You are ordering to pay a specific person or the holder of the instrument, or you are promising to pay to the holder or to a specific person. So when you are ordering or when you are promising, such order or promise should be unconditional. There should not be any condition to make the payment. It should not be a conditional order. It should not be a conditional promise. It should be unconditional order or an unconditional promise to make the payment. It must call for payment of certain sum of money only. So negotiable instruments, on it we write how much amount is payable. So it should not contain other than currency, other than money. The payment should not be in any other mode. It should not call for making payment in food grains, articles, goods, etc. But the payment should be in currency of the country. It should be in Indian rupees in our context. So the payment must be made in money only. It must be payable at future date or on demand. So when these negotiable instruments are payable, so negotiable instruments are payable at a future date when they are future date which is mentioned on the instrument, or on demand when they are presented for payment as the case may be. It is freely transferable document from one person to another person. So negotiable instrument very basic feature itself is easy transferability. The document can be freely transferred from one person to another person. There is no restriction. The transfer can be done either by delivery or through an endorsement. So such instruments are freely transferable. The holder in due course is not affected by certain defects which might be available against previous holders. So if there are any defects in the negotiable instrument, when the previous holder was possessing that instrument, such defects will not be passed on to the subsequent holder. So the holder in due course, he will not be affected by the defects which were available to the previous holder of the instrument. The holder in due course is free from all such defects. So it is the property like other valuable asset. So negotiable instrument is also a type of asset. It's a property like any other valuable assets we have. To discuss three important negotiable instruments that are widely used. They are promissory notes, bill of exchange, and check. So before I go for in these concepts, let me make you clear what promissory note and bill of exchange are. Promissory note and bill of exchange, both of them are instruments in writing. Means, as I told earlier, negotiable instrument, the very basic feature is it should be in writing. So promissory note is an instrument in writing. Similarly, bill of exchange is also an instrument in writing. The key difference that you find in promissory note and bill of exchange is promissory note contains an undertaking. It contains a promise. Bill of exchange contains an order. It contains a direction. It contains a order. Both of these, either you are promising or you are ordering, such promise or order should be unconditional. There should not be any conditional promise. There should not be any conditional order. These orders and promises should be unconditional. If there is any conditional promise or conditional order, it becomes invalid instrument. Promissory notes are signed by the maker. Similarly, bill of exchange is signed by the maker. Promissory note is signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money only, or to the order of a certain person or bearer of the instrument. So promissory note, which is signed by the maker to pay certain sum of money to the holder of the instrument or to the order of certain person to pay some specific money in future or on demand. But bill of exchange also contains certain person to whom the payment has to be made, or to the order of certain person or bearer of the instrument. Keep in mind that promissory note is unconditional promise to make the payment. Bill of exchange is unconditional order to make the payment. So payment is made to a specific person or to the holder of the instrument. Similarly here, payment is made to the holder of the instrument or the order of a specific person, and the amount is payable at future date or on demand. Now let's move on to check. The difference that you find between promissory note, bill of exchange and check is a check is drawn on a specified banker. A banker is involved here. So when a check is drawn, when an instrument is drawn on a specified banker, it becomes a check. And again, it contains an unconditional order. There is no conditional order to make the payment. It is signed by the account holder. It is signed by the customer who is having the account in the bank. The issuer of the check has to sign the check, and he is directing and he is ordering the bank to make the payment. The bank has to make the payment whenever the check is presented for payment, and the bank has to make the payment to a certain person whose name has been written on the check or to the holder of the instrument, and the bank will pay a certain sum of money which is written on the face of the check. So we have discussed with what negotiable instrument is, features of negotiable instruments, and three negotiable instruments that are widely used in commercial context. So that's all for today. In the next session, we will be learning about check and its features in detail. Thank you.